playing as an attacking midfielder is very complicated. Not only you have to know your own position, you also have to know every other position on the pitch, including the opposition. As an attacking midfielder, you are the orchestrator of the game. So you're gonna have to improvise how you're gonna play as an attacking midfielder, because the way that you're gonna play as an attacking midfielder will really change according to the opposition. How they play will really affect what kind of an attacking midfielder you're gonna be for that day. You're definitely gonna be given some instructions by your coaches, but again, once you step up on the pitch as an attacking midfielder, those instructions will be valid to a certain point. So you really will have to improvise your own game, adapt your own game according to the opposition. This is the attacking role of an attacking midfielder. You also play a significant role when it comes to defending as an attacking midfielder. But we will get to this near the end of the video, and I will talk about the defensive roles of an attacking midfielder. There are two very important attributes that every attacking midfielder must have. One is scanning and awareness. I know this video is about the positioning of an attacking midfielder, but you will not be comfortable to use the knowledge that you have about the attacking midfielder positioning if you don't scan on the pitch. If you don't scan on the pitch, your awareness is weak. And you must scan so you are really comfortable when it comes to playing on the pitch as an attacking midfielder. You have to be scanning throughout the entire game, every second of it. You constantly have to have your head up, you constantly have to be shoulder checking to see where your teammates are, to see where the opposition is, how tight are they to you, or what kind of runs your teammates are making. Because this is really gonna determine where you need to be on the pitch as an attacking midfielder. Scanning as an attacking midfielder gives you awareness, gives you the positional clues on where you need to be on the pitch so you can receive the ball comfortably, turn with the ball comfortably, and create the game accordingly. If I told you right now that you have to be at the certain position when your teammate has the ball, that would be a lie, because that is really gonna depend on where the spaces are, where the gaps are. And this is why scanning and awareness is incredibly important, because you are the one that needs to find those gaps so you can actually go to that location, receive the ball comfortably, and turn with the ball comfortably. Because if you are under pressure, that's not gonna be comfortable for you to turn, because you are under pressure and you can't lose the ball. You can't afford to lose the ball centrally, otherwise you're gonna cause a counterattack for the opposition. And you do not want this. That's why you need to be shifting to these locations where there are lots of gaps and you can comfortably receive the ball and you can comfortably turn with the ball so you can actually damage the opposition. But of course, ideally, if you can, if there is gaps, it's better for you to receive the ball centrally as an attacking midfielder. But this is gonna be very tough because usually, I would say 100% of the time, the teams likes to close and keep the central areas compact so you don't get to receive the ball in the central channels, because that's where your team are the most dangerous. And this is exactly why that improvising as an attacking midfielder is probably one of the most important attributes to have as an attacking midfielder. Personally, I played many years as an attacking midfielder, and I like to take the ball on the wide side of the field. And why is that? Because there is gaps, because there's spaces, because their pressure is less. And even as an attacking midfielder, I will come so far out on the pitch to receive the ball, and when this happens, I can comfortably turn with the ball and create the game. Not only coming out wide, but you can also drop deep sometimes, even where your defensive midfielder is or center midfielder is, to receive the ball comfortably, turn with the ball more comfortably to create the game and to change the flow of the game. We come back to the awareness of receiving the ball as an attacking midfielder on the wide side of the field or off position in general. Because when this happens, you have to constantly be aware of the gaps that are created because you left your central position. So now, let's say you lost the ball, which you will lose the ball. That's not gonna be rare. You're gonna lose the ball quite often as an attacking midfielder, because you are the kind of player likes to take more risks and likes to find those challenging through channels so you can send the balls through your teammates. So when you lose the ball, you have to be constantly aware of what you need to do next, because If you receive the ball on the wide side of the field, that means you pushed your winger to somewhere else where your winger is not supposed to be. So now there is gaps on the wide side of the field and you receive the ball as an attacking midfielder on the wide side of the field. So now you have to know what kind of runs or what kind of channels that you need to cover. So ideally, if you lose the ball when you're on the wide side of the field, you would have to shift central, still close the central channels and give the opposition the wide side of the field. And until your wingers come back, you must be doing this so your team is not getting counter-attacked on. And that's why it's very important to be aware of where your teammates are, where the opposition is, so you can immediately shift the cover to central position and then give the opposition the odd side of the field. This is why if you watch top-level attacking midfielders, you know that they are not only thinking what they're gonna do when they have the ball. You have to be constantly thinking, you have to be constantly improvising on what your next step is gonna be. And that's why the attacking midfielders are the orchestrators of the game or the maestros of the game, because they are constantly thinking, they are one step ahead of you on the pitch. And this was one of the questions that was asked right up here. If you have received the ball centrally and you know you are getting the pressure from the opposition, the defender is getting tight to you, whether it's a defensive midfielder or their center backs, you're receiving the ball and the opposition is getting really tight to you, this is when you cannot afford to make mistakes. Obviously they want to come up high, press high, win the ball and counter-attack. So if you lose the ball there, you're in trouble. That's why in this case you're gonna have to play back simple, whether back to your center mids or your center backs, or turn and play it to your winger, but you cannot afford to turn unless you're 100% sure as an attacking midfielder. And only way to know how tight the opposition is to you is by scanning. And this is why I consider scanning as a #1 priority that every attacking midfielder must have. And then we get to the second most important attribute to have as an attacking midfielder. This is not only good for attacking midfielder to have, generally every player in my opinion must have this, but this is one of the most important things that every footballer, especially attacking midfielder, must have, which is the game knowledge, which is the positional knowledge, but not only your position, every other position on the pitch, including the opposition. You must know what kind of runs wingers make. You must know what kind of runs center mids make. You must know what kind of runs your striker are making, especially the opposition, because you must know where is the priority for a defensive midfielder to defend, because now you're gonna be dealing with the opposition's defensive mid more than you deal with anything else. Which channel are they gonna be closing? So this is why it's very important to not limit yourself to know only your position or your winger or your fullbacks. You must know every other position on the pitch. That's why you must study the game incredibly well. Watch professional games, watch high-level football players and know and observe what they're doing when they have the ball, and especially when they don't have the ball. It's more important to really learn what players do when they don't have the ball. And this was one of the other questions that was asked. What kind of defensive runs do I need to make as an attacking midfielder? Well, personally, as an attacking midfielder, your job is not to really press high to win the ball. You are more responsible of blocking the central channel. You shouldn't really be running unless there's a big opportunity that you know you're gonna win the ball. Otherwise, you're just losing the central channel and now the opposition can play easily through those channels. So you must be patient and you must be working incredibly well with your striker as well as with your winger. Because I'm gonna assume that your team plays in a mid-block team, because that's one of the most common formations the teams that plays. Let's say the opposition is starting from the back with a goal kick. You gave that space, you're allowing them to start short. So what happens is either the center back has the ball and plays it to their fullback, or the goalkeeper plays directly to their fullback. Now you must move towards that position where the ball is, where the fullback is, but not too tight. So you are basically allowing your striker to close the channels to their goalkeeper or to play back to their center back. Your winger is closing the channel that they can't play out wide easily, but preferably they play out wide. So your job is incredibly important to close those central channels. So you are going right in between your winger and your striker and not allowing the opposition to have the ball. But your job might not be limited to that. Sometimes it depends on the conversation you're having with your striker or the position of where your striker is. You might take the striker's position where you are closing the channels to the opposition's center back as well as their goalkeeper. So this can rotate, this stuff can change, but most importantly, you up three there as the striker, winger, and attacking midfielder. Your goal is not to let the ball go through the central channels. So your goal as an attacking midfielder when it comes to defending is to not overwork your central midfielder, which means that the ball should not go through those central channels. So your center midfielder needs to come up and to win the ball. Because when that happens, it really screws up with your team's formation. Now your center mid lost the position back there and the opposition could be more dangerous. So your goal is to stay compact, not allow the opposition go through those central channels. You have to be patient to be able to do this on the pitch. Sometimes it can get more complicated if your coach wants your team to high press, then that means you still have to keep that in mind that you are closing those central channels by putting a little more pressure, by sometimes maybe going towards the fullback and allowing your winger to shift back right behind you to potentially win the ball if you're high pressing, which usually happens if your team is losing the game and you want to press high to win the ball and help your team out for counter-attack quick. Trust me, the modern day of attacking midfielders have much harder job to do compared to the old times attacking midfielders, because old times attacking midfielders was giving that extra freedom, or some super talented attacking midfielders or false nines are giving that role, that extra freedom still to this day. Players like Lionel Messi, but you are not Lionel Messi if you're watching my video. That's why you need to be more focusing on the modern day of attacking midfielders rather than old-fashioned attacking midfielders. Trust me, I know this because I also do this myself as well. You need to be giving that freedom. Yes, when your team is attacking, you need to be giving that freedom. However, when the opposition have the ball, you cannot be given that extra freedom because you need to be closing those channels at all times. Otherwise, it just ruins everything for your team. If you have any questions, please write down in the comments and I will get to you. And also, if you want any other questions answered, I can make these kind of videos and answer your questions specifically. I hope you enjoyed this video and this video was helpful for you. Please drop a like, subscribe to my channel with the notifications on. You can also find my playlist right over here. Thanks for tuning in and I will see you next time.